never been so happy to hear your voice. Oh my goodness. What a travesty. Anyway, hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. So, I mean, for people that are watching, they're going to be like, why are they in a car? So I thought I would just get the elephant out of the room, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yes, basically, this is our new project. We are doing a car sharing event, a virtual car sharing. And with it being Car Crash Productions, where better to host this event but from a car? I actually had the conversation with Tom last night, and I'd said, oh, is Eleanor going to be in a car tomorrow? And he was like, yeah, she's going to be in her dad's car. And I was like, well, that's good, because if not, I was going to tell her to get the Crayola out and get paper mache and make like a car. So you're lucky that you're in an actual car.
Some late night home project.
Yes, I was expecting like a full on paper, 3D paper mache car. Everything was going to be great. It was going to be brilliant.
No, I've just stolen my dad's car. I'm sure he's going to be so happy because I've got the heating on full blast.
Nice.
And plugged into the electrics.
Nice. Something that we'd also decided to do is starting each of the lives. So I had come onto the live with my driving song of the day was, the one from Cars, the life is a highway. That's what I thought of. But then yesterday Tom had said, we were going through them all and we're like, how many cars are actually about driving? Because we've got I was just on TikTok asking the same questions, and Alex was like, shotgun, George Ezra. We came up with Mustang Sally, Wilson Pickett. What was the other one? The new one that's out, Driver's License.
Oh yeah.
There's so Shut Up and Drive, Rihanna.
You've got loads.
So many. But so we've got the elephant in the room out of the way. Let's introduce lovely Eleanor. So do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do first of all, and then let's move on to sad events?
Yeah, sure. So I am an actor. I trained at East 15, and I also work in a supermarket because COVID and actors. I
feel you.
Tutoring and stuff, and a bit of writing and creating and all of the things to help me not lose my mind on a daily basis, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was having the same kind of chat, because from everything that I've kind of learned about the profile in itself without actually speaking to you, is it's kind of for people who, I mean, I don't know if I've stopped watching the news now, but lockdown for us, we are now in lockdown 3 in Scotland, and for us, well, for a lot of people that I've spoken to, like my friends and things like that, we've all kind of just shut down, to be quite honest with you. There's so many of us who we're all taking days to reply to each other just because we can't face going on our phones. We're all just being really with ourselves, and from what I've gathered about the page, it's for people to know that all of these feelings that they're having throughout lockdown, throughout life, throughout being a woman, it's all just normal feelings to have.
You're totally right, because otherwise you can feel so alone. And there's I can't remember, I was just scrolling through Instagram, as is my daily life, and I saw a poem on there, and it was there's a difference between being lonely and being alone. And I think that's one of the strongest things I wanted to use sad events for, because you might be lonely, but you're not alone in that loneliness. If that makes any sort of sense, then great. But you know.
No, it definitely does. So basically, everyone that's joining our live today, we wanted to promote the fact that sad events, obviously with the little banner at the top, you can click and reach this profile. We wanted to highlight that with this profile, also with ours too. With both of our profiles, we've kind of made this safe space, if you want to call it that, that if you have questions about anything at all, to get your comments in on under these Sad Vents posts, and just know that, like what you've just said, in that feeling lonely, you're not alone, you're not by yourself. There's so many people that could be going through the exact same thing, and you just don't know about it because you haven't spoken about it. So it's that reassurance to know that speaking about it, you will never be judged, and everything will be okay. There's light at the end of the tunnel, like, kind of thing. But yes, it's we're always looking for that feeling, and it's that friendship of knowing that somebody else is feeling the exact same way as you are.
Exactly. Like, even if you're really, really miserable and in a really, really mood, you're just like, oh, well, at least I'm not alone. At least I'm not suffering on my own.
Yeah.
And that's like, I get like a really, like, I don't know, sick pleasure from knowing that at least everyone else is miserable too. It's not just poor little me, you know? And just, I think as well, like, saying some things, like, I mean, I've always been like this, but I like to say things that you shouldn't say. Kind of an attention seeker, which I suppose is a professional attention seeker, really.
Okay. Yep.
And I like to say all those things that, like, you probably do think, but you don't say because people think you shouldn't say them. So then you keep it secret and you go mad in your little brain thinking you're the only one who, for example, like one of the pieces I talked about attending my ex's funeral and how I'll look great and stuff like that. And actually 3 of my friends was like, oh my God, I have had the same thoughts. I thought I was a loon, but no, I was not. There are plenty of other people who think these things as well. But until someone says them and just whacks them out there, you're going to feel like it's just you.
What is that feeling? You know, that way of, I don't know if everyone can relate, if it's just, you know, when you've had, like, let's say you're getting your legs waxed and you're putting the hot wax on your leg. You're like, okay, I'm lulled into like a false sense of security, like it's nice and warm, everything's gonna be fine, you know, that way where she puts it on and everything's great. And then she puts this like wax strip on, and she's like rubbing it, and it's like getting all nice and warm and everything's cushy. And then it's like ripping that band-aid off, and it's like, first it's initial shock.
Yeah.
It's like, see when you go over the initial shock, you're like, wow, how smooth. And sometimes I feel like that's what happens with things that are taboo, things that aren't talked about. Sometimes you just need to rip the band-aid off, because it's like something as silly as talking about, like, in our modern day society, something as silly as talking about your gender, your sexuality. Like, I know that I have had to retrain, I was going to call them the elders in my family, but, like, you know, people that were like, and I'm not talking, like, I'm not dissing on, like, the older generation, not at all, but sometimes they need to be retaught and retrained how to speak in our modern day society, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, so there's some things that your granny might say that were okay back in the day, but then you're like, actually, this is how you say that nowadays. And they kind of go into, oh, all right, and then they start becoming inquisitive and things like that. And I love that. It's that initial shock, and then everything's fine.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like I know that I've come out with things and I've said things and I've written about things in Sad Vents that, you know, like, my family members and friends have obviously seen, and some of them might be from different generations and are a bit like, you what? Like, you why have you said these things? Or why have you done these things?
Why have you done this?
Yeah. What is wrong with you? You know, like, the other day I put out a short film for a preview of one of the monologues, and it had, like, basically fake period, and one of my family members was like, are you clinically insane? Like, you can't do that, that's gross. And I'm like, 2021, yes you can. And yes, I did, you know. And it's like, well, if you do those things more, if we show them, then I don't know, we move. right?
No, you're right. You're so right. I think that the more that we normalise everything, like, and I literally mean that in the biggest, like, everything should just be, although, what even is normal?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
another, what,
But
like,
just like open it up, at
yeah,
least have nothing off limits. So you can't, if something's off limits, it's instantly going to make you feel bad, or you know, you just push things inside. And no, I'm done
yeah.
with that.
You know that way, you know that way where it just automatically makes me think of, you know, when you're going away on holiday with your like, so my best friend Mark, when we first went on holiday together, um, it was that way where we'd been best friends for a long time, but we were never the type of friends that would like openly talk about like periods or going to the toilet or like things like that. But then you feel like when you go on holiday, everything's like, well, I'm a human being
Yes.
and I go to the toilet. Like, it was just something that I walked into the hotel room and I was like, I'm a human being and I poo too.
Just so you know. And it's
Just so
like,
you know.
and it's there's those similar things, like I was saying about the period thing. Like, just so we're all clear,
Yeah,
period is red, not
yeah,
blue, as the commercials would have you believe. And it's like
yeah,
things like that I just feel like if we can reclaim a bit of that, like this is just normal. This is just normal functions. Or like I
yeah,
talk a lot about wanking and stuff. And I'm like, what, like that shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be weird that you have a wank.
no,
That it shouldn't be, and yet it is. And I think like the more that people talk about, especially as women, I don't know why it is, but especially as women, I think like let's talk about wanking more. I'm passionate about wanking.
yes. Instagram said, may I add to your point about not being alone in one's misery? I miraculously found that meditation, mindfulness, and daily routines help enormously with the endeavour of not losing your marbles. I would 100% agree with that. Sometimes, especially when you're in a lockdown, I totally can feel like you lose every sense of what day it is, what time it is, what you're doing. So if you get up at the same time every day, make a conscious effort to do that. And something that I have really tried to do this year is looking at myself in the mirror. And I was someone who previously suffered, well, not suffered. I wasn't the most confident about my body, but I have made the conscious effort to look at myself in the morning when I'm clean out of bed. I look, my hair's bloody everywhere, I've got no makeup on, and I've given myself the conscious effort to be like, you have survived so much with this body. Like, you
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
your body has got you through a lot of, quite frankly, shit. Like, it's got you through a lot. It's and you're surviving a global pandemic. So
Yeah,
give yourself some slack. Like, just give yourself a bit of, you're actually all right. Like,
yeah.
you've got,
You've got through. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I do you know what, I think that's so valid, and that's such a good thing to be doing. I also think though, and I do meditation, I do yoga, and I do the stuff. I've got anxiety and depression, and so
mm-hmm.
I have a lot of like therapy and stuff. I know the tricks. I could rattle through the old CBT booklet like no one else. Um, but I think there's also something to be said, and I kind of touch on this quite a lot in segments of that's great, and those tools work. And I'm not saying don't do them, but I'm also saying it's just as valid sometimes to fall apart, and it's just as valid sometimes to lay in bed all day and do nothing. And it's just as valid to, like, you know, I don't know if anyone else suffers with anxiety or you do, or any of those mental health things, but sometimes you get this sort of like, well, have you just tried having a walk? Yeah, thanks so much for that. Thank you
Yeah,
for your PhD in going for a walk.
yeah,
Like, and I think it is that thing of like self-help. There's sort of like toxic positivity. I think that's the term. I'm not sure. But you don't have to write your war and peace over lockdown. And you don't have to learn 94 languages. You can just eat food and sort of survive, if you like. Like, that's also a very
yeah.
valid option. And I
So
think that's
valid.
another thing that I wanted to like put out there, because otherwise I think especially on Instagram you're like, oh my god, someone painted the Sistine Chapel, what have I done today?
Yeah.
I just ate a whole cake. Like, do that.
I also think that it becomes so like so soul destroying when you're like, when everything has told you to go for a walk and you get up, you get yourself ready, you're like, I really don't want to go for a walk, but I'm going for a walk, and then you get out, and I don't know what it's like by you, but I literally walk out the door, I'm too far away from my house to walk back, and then it starts absolutely pelting, like, and I mean pelting. And I get back in, I'm like a drowning rat, and I'm like, go for a walk, they said. It would be good for your mental health, they said. Just get out the house. And I'm like, I need to go for a bath, I need to go for a shower, my hair's soaking. Oh, it just becomes one of those things, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're like, does the world hate me? Like,
yeah.
What the hell? The thing is, so those times, I mean, sometimes they send me over the fucking edge, but sometimes those are the times that really like inspire me, because I kind of revel a little bit in that misery of coming back and being like, that's it, everyone hates me, I should just like end myself, I tried the thing, it's awful, what the hell, you know, and I just sort of like live in that angsty moment, and sometimes that like gets it out, and it's good.
I don't know if you're into musical theatre, but there is, if anybody's into theatre, there's nothing better than putting on an angsty song, and I mean like teenage angst, like that kind of angst, and like belting it out. There's nothing better. It's so good. But let's talk about sad events really quickly. So is there anything that is upcoming with sad events? Anything that you're really excited about that's coming up? Anything that anybody watching can message the page and get involved in? Absolutely anything.
So I haven't cast all of the sad events for this coming year. So sad event calendar was I'm kind of calling them almost like series. So sad event calendar was like series 1, and that was one every day of Advent, and it was sort of a project in itself. And then sad events is one every Monday rather than every day, because that was just a lot to be dealing with. So that will be every Monday for the rest of the year. So I'm still casting, so I'm still looking for actors, people who want to get involved. I couldn't care less about whether you're trained or not. Don't give a shit. I care if you can act. I don't want anyone doing accents that aren't their accents. Like, I want natives. I just want people to jump in, and especially because I haven't got any money. I'm trying to go for funding. I'm trying to boost. I've got no money. I can't pay anyone. I'm really upfront about that. So I'm like, this is what I would need. This is what I can give. You know, I try and show people off on the page and sort of like tag them in everything and push them out there, because hopefully people will get something from it. But yeah, so there's if people want to get involved, then message and ask, and I'll see what I can do. Also, so sad vent calendar / sad vents, I have the workings of a one woman show in my mind here.
Nice.
So I'm playing around with that, and it's just at the moment sort of like form and stuff. I think the whole sort of like sad vents concept, I also have like a film that's floating around. It kind of has a lot of stuff, but this is the main thing at the moment. And yeah, I think there's some really, really amazing talent that I've got who are going to be doing it. And I think the biggest thing for this is like the only way that it can keep on going on is if people keep interacting with it. Otherwise it can't carry on. So yeah, I know like people do this. You watch something and you're like, oh yeah, I'll do that. But like actually liking it, or actually commenting with your thoughts and feelings on it, or actually saving it, or all of those things help so much, because then I can go and beg people for money. And with money, I could pay actors. And I know that's a sport, but I could.
No, of course. Absolutely. It was a big eye opener for, I mean, ourselves as Car Crash Productions. I had taken over our social platform last year at the start, kind of March time of last year. And for us, it was a massive point of we engaged so much because our followers started not only liking the posts but also commenting on them. And when it comes to the stupid algorithm, the like is actually something that least matters.
Yeah.
Although some people are so like orientated, so like they can see something with 1,000 likes on it and think, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. But in actual fact, that's only their friends have liked that. They have not engaged with anyone else. So I always think that's a good point to put out when it comes to a company or a project. It's always better to comment or share it or save it instead of just giving it a simple wee like. But that's really important, just to.
And it's free, you know, like it's an easy way and it's a free way to support. And I just think, you know, all of the actors that are getting involved and stuff, it helps them as well, because obviously they're all tagged in, and it just, hey, it's a lot of women doing some creative stuff. Why wouldn't you want to support that?
Absolutely. But yes, if everyone on this live wants to go and follow Sadvents, please do so. Let's get more of an open conversation happening. Actually, Dan, you've just said the exact same thing. Thanks for the nice and open chat. I think it's really important to have these open chats, not just over a live, but in private, in person. It's really important to have these chats. So if anything, this was a reminder, your reminder for today, to have honest and open chats. Go and tell your auntie about your period. Go and tell your next door neighbour about your poo. Maybe not your next door neighbour, that may be a bit too much. That may be a bit too much, but you know what I mean. So let's get behind the projects and the companies, and let's really make 2021 much better than 2020. That's for sure.
That's easy. That's surely the bar is low. The bar is so low.
The only way is up. Surely. Come on. Surely. But thank you so much for having a little chat with us today. I won't take up any more of your time. But the moral of this lovely story was keep things nice and open. I'm sure we'll chat again, because this was lovely. This was lovely to have a nice and open chat. I'm sure we'll chat again, and everyone go follow Sadvents and keep up to date with their latest content. And remember, don't just like, have a little comment too. But enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much, Eleanor.
Thank you.
And no doubt I'll speak to you again.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.